We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Ron Johnson's with us. He's the coordinator for the Community Safety Board put together by the mayor just a couple of months ago. He's got a lot on his plate. You know, as much as you're doing, you'll get calls from mothers, won't you? You were telling me during the break, mothers of some of these youngsters that get in trouble, mothers who love these kids.
Absolutely, and it's heartbreaking. And you know, there are times where, you know, there's really nothing that you can do but listen, which I think is one of the greatest tools that we have, is to have an ear to hear what she has to say, because she loves her child, but she knows without a doubt that there, along the way somewhere, that child has gone off the beaten path, and she doesn't know what to do. As I said to a mom who called me literally as I was coming in here this morning, heartbroken about her son.
Being arrested, or?
Yes, being arrested for allegedly doing something, but she was just tore up, devastated. And I said, you can only do what you can do when you can do it. But if you try to do more than what you can do, it's going to be more weight on you. So you got to wait until they tell you what you need to do, then try and do that.
Yeah, and, you know, fairly or oftentimes unfairly, a lot of times people look at these juveniles committing crimes and they blame the parents. Yeah,
that's unfortunate. You know, I tell you, these moms, some of them, and some fathers as well, but especially moms, they have a really tough job, especially if they're raising 2, 3.
Sometimes it's a broken home, right? It's a single parent maybe in these homes.
Yes,
right?
And most of them they are. And that is a lot of pressure for a mom who has 3 young ones that they are doing very well with, but the older one, and most of it is, it's all tied to trauma. I truly believe that it's tied to the injury that young person has suffered along the way, and that injury has started to show in their actions. And that's trauma.
Yeah.
And we can help young people heal from that, but we got to know where they are, who they are, and then try and provide the necessary resources to help them along the way.
Yeah, help the family as a whole. Listen, we've got some folks that have questions for you. What do you say take a call or two? Is that all right? Joe, good morning. Hi, Joe.
Good morning, Nick. Just listening to your guest and your talk. Most of this juvenile crime, and it's growing all the time, it starts at home. When you have a single mother with several children,
that's what you're saying,
and no fathers, they don't go to school, they don't work, they have nothing to do but get out and look for something to do, and that's what happens. That's why they break in cars, steal cars, get a gun, shoot people. It's beginning to get to the point that you're seeing people shooting people with small children, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, are getting killed in a crossfire.
Right.
And why did you shoot this? They don't care. They just, and you had early on in your morning news program, they was going to cut the fees for charges, and that's not going to help anything, because 75 to 80% of the ones that's committing these crimes are going to recommit. So,
yeah, the
it's a good. What you're talking about is a good thing if you can get it to work. But it's not even safe to go downtown.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's how he feels. Not safe to go downtown, and I think he was talking about some of the fees being reduced when you're arrested, and some of the court fees are maybe being dialed back because they're so exorbitant. But he's just echoing some of what you just said about what's happening in these homes. So it sounds to me like what needs to be set up, and we know there's big brothers, big sisters. There needs to be role models or someone who can show some of these youngsters. And I don't want to spend too much time just talking about juvenile crime, because I know you're talking as a whole, but the right path.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of outlets that are out there. And that's kind of one of the things that we're hoping to do, is to bring some of those organizations and programs that have been working and doing some of the things that we've been talking about. They've been working in silos, and they have not felt like they've had the support of the city or the major agencies have been getting. This is what you hear them say, all of the resources and this, that, and the other. We want to try and see what we can do to help those smaller organizations do more by knowing without a doubt they have the support that they need along the way. But it's a process, though. Nothing happens overnight, nothing changes overnight, but the process will only be something that we can succeed in is if we start. And we've started the process, and that is what we can continue to work on.
Well, it just seems though the larger picture, besides just dealing with anyone who's been arrested and get in trouble, the big picture of it, okay, socioeconomic, providing better opportunities for people to get jobs and make a decent living. Affordable housing is something that simply does not exist in Nashville anymore, okay? And the folks who are still living in some of these areas where it's affordable are going to be forced out. You know that it's happening everywhere. No one can afford to live in Nashville anymore. I mean, and those are the bigger issues. I don't even know if that's beyond your realm, because I don't know how you want these youngsters to be willing to take this help and get jobs and all of that. I mean, it's just overwhelming. It's
very overwhelming, and you think about it, you got a mom with 3 or 4 kids, trying to live in, very impoverished area.
Yeah, maybe some of the subsidized housing.
And you think about that, how stressful that could be when a young person wants some things, see others with it, and they can't have it. So all of that drives back and goes back to the trauma that we're speaking about. And we're not just talking about kids, we're talking about adults too. All of that is injury. That's old injury finding its way to be part of the acting out. But the only way I think we can do anything about it is bring people together, let them know that we care. Because when people know, they don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's the thing that I want to try and make sure that people know, that you have someone that's in this position that cares. Because I'm not telling you something that I heard. This is something that I've lived. So a lot of the things that I talk about, I've been through those things. And so therefore I have a greater idea.
Were you a troublemaker?
I wasn't a troublemaker. Sports saved my life. I was an athlete. Okay. But I did have my share of trouble. So there's a difference.
Okay, but you've been there. I think coming from that and knowing a bit, you can relate a bit more.
I'm the 5th of 10 boys growing up in Memphis.
Okay.
In the projects. So it's like, okay. But the thing that I always say, I had my mom and dad. They both were my heroes. But I also dealt with some tragedy along the way. With my mom was murdered my junior year in college. And so that is something that I will always live with in the back of my mind and in my head, knowing that the last time I saw my mom, she got to see me play the most incredible game of my entire life as a football player with Tennessee State. And then I made a proclamation to her and said, next year when I get drafted into the NFL, I'm gonna buy you a big old house. And kids, that's what they want to do for their moms, their parents. And I'm gonna get you out of the projects. And my mom said to me, and these are things that I know a lot of the moms that we see that are parents of the kids and or young people who are doing things. She said, I don't care nothing about no big old house, but be my first son to graduate from college. And I would be the happiest mom in the whole wide world. And 3 days later, my mom came to the door of the projects we lived in as my cousins was having words with a lady that lived over there who was a mom of a friend of mine. And she shot up there at them. My mom was standing in the door.
Caught in the crossfire?
1 bullet. And they said, my mom said, y'all please leave that lady alone. And 1 shot hit her in the heart and she fell back in the door. And so for a long time, that injury right there had me angry and mad at the world.
Sure.
I wanted to stop. I wanted to quit college. I wanted to do all those things. But what continued to radiate in my head was, be my first son to graduate from college.
Well, you had good parents that were there for you.
Big time.
Listen, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, more of the phone calls as we talk about community safety right after this. Stay with us. I didn't know that about you.